It's now my time to give my president's report, and I'm really very happy to do this today. The League's 100th anniversary is just around the corner, and we're already beginning our second century of empowering voters and defending democracy. This year, we celebrated 100 years of women voting in Texas primaries. On March 26, 1918, Governor William Hobby, the husband of Evita Culp Hobby, as you know, one of our former State League presidents, signed the bill giving women the right to vote in the Texas primaries. The leaders of our predecessor, the Texas Equal Suffrage Association, joined with our partner organizations to sponsor a citizenship school to inform the new voters how to register and vote. They then led the effort to register women to vote for the first time in Texas. They registered an estimated 386,000 women in 17 days that were allotted to register voters in that historic election. So this year, 100 years later, on March 26th, we joined with those Texas partners, the PTA, the AFL-CIO, the Federation of Women's Clubs, the Texas Press Women, and the Texas Nurses Association, in a press release and a dedication to working together again to promote voting in Texas. Next year, we celebrate 100 years of the League of Women Voters of Texas. And in 2020, we celebrate 100 years of the 19th Amendment and the formation of the National League. So 50 years ago, Ruth Johr, then president of the Texas League, gave a speech celebrating the 50-year anniversary. And she said, on this 50th birthday month of the League of Women Voters of Texas, it would be appropriate, if we could, to peer into a crystal ball to determine what the League will be like on our 100th birthday. She continued, 50 years ago, on October 19, 1919, 5 local leagues, San Antonio, Houston, Galveston, who's not a league anymore, Austin, and El Paso formed the League of Women Voters of Texas. So y'all are having your 100th birthday next year. We've come a long way since then, she said, but we still have much more to do, and change is in the wind. She closed her speech, I would like to be around in 2020 to see how the League has progressed. I've no doubt that there will be a League of Women Voters, a greater, more influential, more flexible organization than the League of 1970. Pretty amazing, isn't it? The League is again experiencing a change in the wind. Every 50 years, you know. As Chris talked about this morning, and she talked about 50 years ago this morning, we are on a transformation journey. This year is a critical year for the League as we begin to move into our second century, and we're well on our way to making Ruth Johr's predictions a reality. As I pass the gavel on to the next board, I want to reflect on the progress we've made in these last few years. Johr envisioned a League that would be greater, more influential, and more flexible. So how have we fared? You have heard or will hear from others about much of what we've done, and I don't mind repeating some of the ways that we have fulfilled the expectations of Ruth Johr. So are we greater? I don't know if we're exactly greater or not, but in many ways we've made a lot of progress. We don't have as many members as we did in 1970. but we reach thousands, even millions more through traditional media, social media, and our internet presence. We had nearly 3 million clicks on our website. The number, yeah, go for it. The number of users on Vote 411 during our primary season was twice what it was in 2016, and as you heard, 17 times more than it was in 2014. We're going to say that a couple more times, probably.
That's awesome.
4 years ago, we had 450 Facebook followers. 2 years ago, we were very excited that we had 1,100. And today, we have more than 6,400 Facebook followers. We began producing videos for each of the constitutional amendments in 2015. And they were done by the board members, and they were kind of primitive. We'll all admit that, but it was a start. In 2017, our interns, our fabulous interns, produced really excellent videos in both English and Spanish, and they were viewed 55,000 times. For this primary election, the interns again produced videos to describe the state offices on the ballot. They didn't do candidate videos, but they did videos that described what each of those offices did. Thank you to Grace and Eileen and the interns for all of that fabulous work. For the first time, this year we covered primary races for Congress, state senator, and state representative on Vote 411 in the communities where we don't have local leagues. It's a big deal. And I want to thank Carol Olewin and Nancy Parra and Tiffany for making that happen. It's a big project to cover races where we don't have local leagues. A goal in our 2016 strategic plan was to increase membership by 5% each year. I thought that was a stretch. Our membership grew almost 18% since 2016. And we have 3 new leagues at large in communities that did not previously have a local league. Last summer, we had 5 regional trainings around the state, and we had twice as many in attendance as we had in 2015. I could feel the excitement as leaders from established and newly forming leagues gathered together to discuss ways to capture the moment following the women's marches and to begin to discuss the league's transformation journey. And I need to thank Peggy Hill and Meg Scott Johnson, our Services to Local Leagues Committee, because we definitely couldn't have done it without them. So are we greater? I think so. And yet we have so much more to do. Are we more influential? Yes. We probably had the busiest, most influential legislative session in decades in 2017. Board members, issue chairs, Capitol Corps members, the staff, and you banded together to boldly make our voices heard like never before. You responded to our new and improved weekly Capital Action reports, our first ever Capital Action Minute advocacy videos. You remember seeing those? They were great. And more than 150 calls to action. Using our new technology, we greatly improved the timeliness of our communications to keep up with the fast pace in the legislature. And we didn't shy away from controversial issues like the bathroom bill and the owner's restrictions on abortion. and you responded. With our new technology, more than 900 league advocates communicated with their elected officials at least 4,700 times. None of that could have happened without Grace, the issue chairs, the Capitol Corps, the staff, the interns, and you. Last July, the Texas League took really bold action. We joined with NAACP Texas and former League President Ruth Ann Geer, raise your hand, Ruth Ann, to file a lawsuit to prevent the Texas Secretary of State from disclosing personal information of Texas voters to the so-called Election Integrity Commission. Last October, the court issued a temporary restraining order preventing the release of the data. Then in January, in part due to lawsuits like ours, the commission was dismantled. We're proud that we took this step to protect Texans' privacy. Without this fight, Texas would have complied with this misguided request in clear violation of Texas law. Thank you, Ruth Ann, for volunteering to be our individual plaintiff in this important fight. In 2016 and again in 2018, Elizabeth Urkel led a project to survey and rate election and voter information on every county's website in Texas. Not only did the 2016 study receive a great deal of attention, and it did, but it directly resulted in improvements in the information provided on those websites by 2018. Special thanks to Liz for spearheading that project. Are we more flexible? I hope so. In the 1960s, the League undertook an examination of the poll tax. A booklet was produced, complete with pros and cons. You can't read it on the screen, but here's the conclusion. The present poll tax is so interwoven with the election process that abolition of it as a prerequisite for voting would entail not only a constitutional amendment, but almost a complete revision of the election code. It goes on to suggest 3 additional studies. I hope that faced with a similar issue today, we would approach it with more flexibility. One example of our flexibility was our advocacy against the bathroom bill. We followed the lead of other leagues and used our position on equality of opportunity, and we advocated and we won. Amber Briggle is our issue chair and strong advocate for transgender people. Thank you so much, Amber. Lobby Days 2017 attracted an overflow crowd at the Capitol. So many leaguers were registering that we had to stop taking reservations. But we decided that we could expand the audience virtually, so league advocates across the state participated in our first ever Facebook Live event. Another aspect of our increasing flexibility is seen in the newly formed leagues at large. We're excited to have Waco, Victoria, and Marshall reform as leagues at large, and to have entirely new groups formed in Lavaca County, Beaumont, and Fort Bend County. And I'm so glad that people from all 3 of those leagues at large are here today. These and our existing leagues at large, Rio Grande Valley and Cy-Fair, are doing great league work, and in some case, leading the way with innovative programs and use of social media. Welcome to the league. And just last month, the Texas board followed the lead of the national board and voted to waive PMP for students for the next several years. This was in response to the February school shooting in Parkland, Florida, and the student activism that followed. Students had a day of action, including marches all over Texas, and leagues participated both in the marches and in registering new voters. We are flexible, nimble, and ready to engage with these young, new activists. So yes, we are greater, we are more influential, and we are more flexible, but we have so much more work to do. I am confident that when you join us in 2020, you will find an even greater, more influential, and more flexible Texas League. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to making these past years a success. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been my great honor to serve you. And it is now my great honor to present this year's President Award. This year's honoree is someone who has served generously and offered her many skills and talents on the local, state, and national levels for the League. Please join me in congratulating Linda Wasenick. I was so worried about you getting me. All right, just stand there for a minute and collect your thoughts. Linda is a 44-year member of the League. She was president of the Dallas League from 1995 to 1999 and has served on the Dallas board in many roles over the years, including development chair, voter editor, membership chair, and probably others. I got to know Linda when she served on the Texas board from 1999 to 2012. She was the development chair for most of that time and brought professionalism to the League's fundraising activities. Linda's 13 years on the state board was the longest continuous service of anyone we know. I checked the records as best I could, and nobody matches Linda. When Linda left the state board in 2012, she joined the national board and served 2 terms, leading the board in the development role. And now, Linda is secretary of the Dallas board. Linda is a rock star in the League. She's been a great friend to me and a wonderful mentor. Thank you, Linda, for everything you do for the League. Presents. Say a few words.
I get to say a few words, and I'm just dumbstruck, which is kind of hard for me. I like to talk about the League. It's really such a special organization, and you all know this. You all are here because you love the League just like I do, and it's not just what we get out of being with each other. It's something so critical to the well-being of our nation. And I just can't thank you all enough for being part of it. And I'm glad you're here. Glad to see Chris and Tom. It's just wonderful. So thank you very much. This is really a treasure.
Now, if I can find my spot again.